This is the approved master plan. You can see that it's got the two golf courses, one on the northwest end and one on the east end. And this is the revised master plan. You can see the accesses going through Coyote Canyon, and access out onto Highway 32. And the applicant has a number of accesses agreed with UDOT. You can see the green asterisks on Highway 32 that are all access points, potential access points. In the North Village, we've got the 4 access points that would be the major intersections. And even some of those are not full movement intersections. This is the east end of this project is contingent upon getting access out through, hopefully, the Talisman project, which has a recorded, platted public right-of-way through it, public road. And the applicant understands that if there is not an access available on the east end of the project, they cannot develop that east end. Because, as you know, our code says that you can't go 1,300 feet or longer unless you have a second access.
How's that relationship there? Is that pretty good? Is that doable?
Well, it's a public right-of-way right now, so it's platted, deeded to the county.
What's the plan with Little Pole Road? I saw that on there too. Is that a county road? Is that a?
It's not a county road. It's at best a prescriptive access. We don't know how wide that prescriptive access is.
It's a county road to a certain point, right?
To the gate.
To the gate. Is it the gate or is it?
No, to the gate.
Is it all the way to the gate, Mike? I thought you were saying it might even not be to the gate.
My understanding was the gate.
Okay.
It's not.
It might not be. We just don't know.
I had heard that too, that the gate was several hundred feet off, but I don't know that either. It was hearsay.
So it's a dirt road right now.
Yeah, but in the findings it says that it shouldn't be allowed to come down to the pole.
The thought behind that is that with timber lakes and everything that's developing on the valley floor, this end of the project could create approximately 16,000 ADT at build out. We didn't feel it would be appropriate to send those down on the east end of Lake Creek. So the hope would be that that access through Talisman would be maintained, and that would be the main access out of that east end of the project. The road standards reflect the county code. There's 60-foot right-of-ways and 30 feet of asphalt. They comply with the grades. Now, this may not end up being the standard. We're working on a standard right now that has swales, and the asphalt section would not be less, but rather than curb and gutter in more rural parts, there might be a swale. This just shows some of the current traffic counts and traffic counts anticipated with their traffic analysis. You can see the huge changes on, for example, Highway 32 up at the top of the screen. Currently we're at about 2,000 ADT on 32, and at 2040 a potential of 50,000 ADT, which is mind-boggling when you think that that's Highway 48 north of town is at 20,000 ADT right now. So. One thing we have done is taken some of the ADT. You can see Coyote Canyon approximately 6,000 to 7,000 ADT. An updated traffic impact statement was done by Hales Engineering, and some of the traffic was pushed further north with the additional accesses on Highway 32. Also, Coyote Canyon is going to be most likely a 10% grade and a fairly windy road, so we're not sure how much it'll see that type of traffic count. This shows the roads and the grades. The red one, which is Coyote Canyon, you can see a grade of 10% on that. Others are 8%. 6 and 4. The roads. This also shows the internal roadway network. I inserted the Jackson Fork Cummings project in there as well. They also have a stub going to this property, and we would foresee as many access points as possible through there. This is the plat for Talisman, and that's the platted road currently recorded, the public right-of-way. And you may or may not know that currently it's up for sale. I understand there's an offer on it. I don't think it's under contract, but you may get some new property owners in here soon for that project. This is verbatim part of the traffic impact statement that the applicant's engineer provided. I'll just read the highlighted portion. All project intersections are anticipated to operate at acceptable levels of service except the following. And for the most part, that's the majority of the intersections. But those are all UDOT intersections as well. We have sent this to UDOT, and UDOT typically does not reply. And it's difficult for us to determine what, if anything, UDOT would want to say within, or recommend with any of these accesses. They tend to be more reactionary than proactive with things. So I suspect what will happen as things start coming online, UDOT will get involved and require turn lanes or widening at the intersections or lights or whatever the case may be. So the applicant, as well as the planning department, feels like there's a lot of work that needs to be done on these in the future. But when we have a party that's not at the table at this point, I just don't know how you address it. So these are the DRC comments. One of the concerns of the county engineer, Mike Davis, was that the county, or the roads proposed, do not meet the county widths. We looked at the cross sections that the applicant proposed, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but they meet the county standard. They're the 30 feet of asphalt. So the other concern was that the east end of the development can't develop until access is obtained and appropriate, and that's a given. The code needs to be complied with, and the 1,300-foot rule is in place. Brandon Clough, the Public Works Director, stated that after the issues of some of the other developments at this elevation and the density, this needs to be a private development. We've talked about that, and I think let me skip to this slide. I think it was in conjunction with meetings we've had with Mike, but I think what we've determined is that the main roads would be public. The interior roads in the subdivisions would be private for the most part. And the developer's open to that as well.
Do we have adequate snow storage on the main roads?
Well, the main roads, for the most part, won't have homes facing on them. There's quite a bit of open space along some of those main roads. And at this level, on a 9,000-acre project, we'll have to start addressing that more at preliminary approvals. Housing Authority mentions the affordable housing. The applicant has stated that they're intending to build that on the site.
It's one of those, about 600 units. That doesn't count against the unit number, the density, or
It does not. Of course, that would need to be dealt with sewer and water. That last comment by Mr. Davis was the feasibility of the secondary access, and like I said, the applicant understands that without a secondary access on that east end can't be done.
how many units are we talking about on that east end?
I'm going to say around 2,000, somewhere like that.
It's gotten huge.
Just a guess. This item was continued at the Planning Commission for a month because we didn't have the DRC sign-off, which is what I just went through, and we also didn't have sign-off from our review geotechnical engineer. We've since received that, and the geotechnical engineer from IGES has stated that what they've submitted is sufficient at this early preliminary level of planning. So the report from AGEC basically identified major issues at a 30,000 foot level, and IGES has concurred with their soils report. That will be further reviewed at preliminary as well. This is the motion from the Planning Commission. It was unanimous for recommending approval of the project. The findings are that there's huge traffic volumes anticipated at build-out in 2040. Impacts are on state highways and entrances onto state highways. Solutions for the 2040 build-out conditions have not as yet been identified. The proposal, if approved, allows density that creates failures at intersections onto UDOT rights-of-way and on UDOT roads. Staff does not know how to address this with a long build-out time frame and a stakeholder that is not participating. UDOT is aware of the proposal but tends to be more reactionary. These are things I've talked about already. The change in marketing from second home to primary home development has impacts on the county, including traffic, lower tax revenues, schools and services. But as we've discussed, I'm not sure that we can regulate second home ownership or primary residence. I mean, they got an approval back in 07 and 02 for a certain number, they're vested with that. I think they've been upfront with telling us this is what we plan to do. So anyway.
That 80-20 split is nothing more than a guess.
It's a guess. And I think,
On the high side.
I think it's a conservative guess. Yes.
Hey, we haven't addressed any rentals.
Yeah, short term, let's go into short term rentals.
Maybe you'll have a specific area for those, right?
We have a hotel.
Were you here earlier?
I heard that.
Okay. So before I forget, and while I'm thinking about it, so you know, going forward, we have a short group or a small group tonight, so we will need 4 votes for in the affirmative for any positive, any action. So just so you're aware, anybody's that we're able to pull that off if you'd like till we have a larger group or not. But just so you know, we'll still need 4 votes. I'll make sure I got that out in case you weren't here earlier.
Going on with findings, the master plan due to its scale is very general. At preliminary, a lot more information will be required. Access to the Talisman development must be possible, otherwise the east portion of the project cannot be developed. There is a public platted road that stops short of the property line to this development and can be tied onto. Access down little poles should not be allowed or discouraged. Approximately 16,000 ADT should not be dropped into Lake Creek at the east end of the valley.
So, as far as I'm concerned, that should not, I mean, it could happen. But on it, it will not.
Well, if the applicant gets a right-of-way through there, I don't think it should be done, because I think with the traffic we're going to see in 2040 on Lake Creek, as we see Timber Lakes developing in more primary villages.
Well, you can't. I mean, how do you? If they own all the ground right to the county right of way, and they improve that road the county standard, how could keep that from being an access? Or
I think what that does is it reinforces the need to have the council uphold that public access through Talisman. If a new buyer came in and asked to have that vacated, then obviously they'd have no other option than to force it down Little Pole.
You indicated the side of the road is near the property line. How much space between the end of the side of the road and the property line that we have?
There's several hundred feet, and I think
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's that far, but it's not far.
are we talking about Little Pole, or are we talking about Talisman?
No, Talisman.
Okay.
But for some reason, the new owner of Talisman didn't want to deal with it.
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure how they get their water line, because their water line comes from our property. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't know where they get their secondary access from either, if we don't cooperatively work together. So I think it's an area of cooperation.
And there's no easements, I understand, for the water lines
No.
coming through their property.
Mr. Sweat.
There was a lawsuit the county was involved in, the Townsend property. And I think there was some information about whether they could move that public road or vacate it. But maybe in the settlement agreement, I need to look at that.
The settlement agreement does allow them to come in like any developer and propose an amended master plan. It would obviously go through the process. The settlement agreement allows for that.
They was allowed to move the road, but they couldn't do away with it.
Well, I don't know that the settlement agreement addresses that, but it would have to be vacated by the council.
I'll have to look at it and see. I don't have a.
What was the ADT on the Mike Creek Road?
Like 2,000.
I want to say it's more like 3,500, somewhere like that. Probably. Well, I can't say right now. I mean, those are probably 2012 numbers. We don't have current numbers.
They were 4,000 and 94 times what we got there now, so probably 4,900.
But we didn't show any going that direction with our study. We didn't push any in that direction.
I think it's just a mountain bike trail.
Yeah.
The Western Trail. Sorry, I'm trying to. A large number of intersections fail to build out of the project. These are all on UDOT rights of way, which will require UDOT improvements, but will still impact the traffic in the area. With the intent to maintain as much internal capture for traffic as possible and become a community, the project will mean school sites, parks, churches, and commercial. The proposal complies with density designations in both the JBOZ and North Village overlay zones. These are some of the comments from the Planning Commission. There were questions about what actually they're approving tonight, and it's just the amended master plan, transferring the 700 ERUs up, and the stipulating the 5770 unit number, and that they can do the project under one development agreement. Those are the real changes. But there was a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission level. For the most part, they were in support. I think they were all in support of transferring the 700 ERUs from the JBOZ, or from the North Village overlay zone to the JBOZ. Conditions. The fire chief has asked that there be 4 to 7 fire station sites potentially on the project.
It seems a little excessive. I mean, you think of our valley right now, 30,000, how many fire stations we have with 30,000? 5. And this is high density in a smaller area geographically, so I'm not sure why we need 4 to 7, but
I think he's just hedging his bets, guys.
what's that?
I think he's just making sure he's covered. We talked about that, and the applicant's amenable to that, but his feeling was the same. That seems like a lot of fire stations. The master plan development agreement must be entered into with the county that, among other things, ties down a maximum unit number, intended internal capture uses, park sites and maintenance, affordable housing, public trails, dedication of open space and percentages of open space committed to, etc. Geotechnical review by the county review geologist should be obtained, and that's been done. DRC sign off on any issues noted in the any issues noted in the DRC report must be complied with prior to master plan approval. That's been taken care of. And any issues that are unresolved in the DRC will need to be addressed with part of the development. A trail system that is in compliance with the master trails plan. Affordable housing built on site or other options approved by the council and outlined in theory and development agreement. Number 7, the county has no deeded right-of-way at Coyote Lane if or when the connection from Coyote Lane to Highway 40 is built or a high school built. There's a 57 acre?
That's 70 acres.
70-acre high school site, kind of at the bend of Coyote Lane and Valley Hills Boulevard, right there on that north side. So obviously the school goes in there, Coyote Lane needs to be improved somehow.
Part of the improvement is going to be the challenge is the approach to Highway 40 because it won't meet any state school standards right now, so they can't legally take a class off of 40 onto Coyote
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Well, I think the idea is with, at least where the sewer line was put, was to angle that to the south for the connection on the 40. I don't know what the timing of that, or if that's an annexation thing with Heber City, if they annex up to Coyote or whatever, but I think that was the idea.
Would it be the county responsibility to acquire the road, that right away for that road?
I don't know, I'm just kind of flagging it as an issue that that road's substandard today, and if we had a high school there, then it's really going to be a problem. We probably want some dedicated turn lanes in there as well.
Well, if what happens with the population by this point in time happens, yeah, it's going to be totally different. The traffic will be totally, this whole place will be different. Roadway and intersections and new everything happening. Right? Then we'll handle it.
Public trails in existence now should be realigned to maintain connections as development occurs. A large degree of cooperation will be required between the county, developer, and UDOT. In each phase of approvals, more specific studies will be required for potential improvements. Number 10, a detailed ridgeline analysis will be required for preliminary approval. No master plan development pods can violate the ridgeline code. Number 11, the Highway 32 corridor management plan between UDOT and the county should be amended to determine the appropriate number of full and partial movement accesses onto Highway 32 that meet the necessary separation requirements. This ideally should be done and attached to development. This was my way of trying to bring UDOT to the table and have them understand what's going on. Number 12, the proposal, as mentioned, is in two different planning areas. Compliance with codes for the respective planning areas, JBOZ and North Village, must be met. And number 13, light pollution could be particularly apparent with this development. There should be voluntary language in the development agreement to provide greater protection than the county code provides. And that is all my conditions and presentation.
Thank you. That's a lot, but we're vested already. We're basically amending something that's already vested, right? Changing it around a little. Thanks for your outline, that helps a lot. I think it's good. Any other comments for Doug before we go to the applicant, or questions for Doug?
Thoughts on the ridge line are pretty good there. That'll run into that Robinson Hill right now, so this is a bigger project, so pretty well covered there.
Well, we'll have to nail that down at preliminary. But I think from what we've discussed, for the most part, everything will be below that ridge, kind of in that plateau area. The code wouldn't allow anything on top of that ridge as viewed from platforms.
It seems like you see it all the time, though. I mean, you go up Lake Creek Road and you look up at Wolf Creek Ranches and bam, there's a big structure right on the skyline, major ridge line. So,
Well, and just to address that, things go up in Timber Lakes all the time, the same thing.
Yeah.
But those projects, including Wolf Creek, was approved prior to our 2002 original ordinance, so they're vested. We try to work with them to minimize it as much as possible.
and sometimes you don't think of a ridge line until you see a big structure on it, and then you go, oh wow, that sticks out. But it's not necessarily a ridge line. But when you see the structure there, it appears like it's like this. But, okay. Any other comments for Doug? Okay? Yeah, that's a lot of info in a small package. Thank you.